Yes, I'm still in that mood. I'm watching Archita today. It's keeping me company as we go into today's episode of Living Bangtan 7 and part 2 of Haegeum Mental Health, the Amygdala and DDAY, lifting the ban on discussing PTSD, trauma recovery, and mental health. And I'm actually not sure if we're still. I have to take a look at the calendar to see where we are with everything. And yes, as always, I have a completely different background today. This is Nisha T. Mulchan, and I am your CEO of Living Punk and Diversely Geek. And thank you so much for having me back today. I am hoping, because I have a little bit more time to share the show today, that we do get some lovelies on who are able to join in for the chat. Thankfully, at the last episode 2 weeks ago, we had this fantastic army who, honestly, her questions were like so on par with what we were discussing that I think it really was like providence to have us on together. So I want to welcome everybody back to Living Pangtan 7, to our newest episode called of a Haegeum, which is part 2 of a 4-parter. And the last one is where we're going to really deep dive into the set list. I think the third one will do a little bit more of our experiences in terms of Army and how the D-Day concert series gave us the opportunity to kind of self-reflect, self-reveal, and just completely let loose. So 2 weeks ago, I had come back from the New York, the East Coast shows, and I lost my voice, as is expected. We are now 4 days post Oakland shows, and I went to both of those, and of course I lost my voice. Come on. I promise nothing. So thank you so much, and here we are. I am going to go ahead and start to read our little bit of a text and do our intro. This is Nisha, and hello, Army, and welcome back to Living Bangtan 7. It's been 2 weeks, and we are so happy to be back with you again to continue our conversation on lifting our Haegeum, or ban on mental health and trauma recovery, and to chat about our D-Day experiences. I really want to hear what's going on. How's everyone today? How is everybody recovering from the concerts? I know that all of us wanted them to just keep on going. If I had had the ability to go to that concert every single day out of every one for 11, I really thought about it, but just life and circumstances didn't make that possible. But thankfully, I was able to attend the 4 that I did. I was supposed to attend 5, had a family emergency. I couldn't attend that one. Was supposed to attend another one. Also had something happen, couldn't attend. It's what it is. Providence and time and destiny, and the universe takes you where you're supposed to be. So now we are a few days post the U.S. tour, and we've experienced D-Day, exhilaration, joy, ecstasy. Now I get the term ecstasy. I'm 57. I've probably experienced it before, but I totally get it now. And a lot of anxiety, unfortunately, because over the last 2 weeks, there have been a lot of things happening in and around our Bangtan lovelies and our angels. And, there's been some hype news that have not made people very happy or feel supported by hype. So that's sad. So I do want to address a little bit the incidents that happened with Jin and the inappropriate administration of the vaccine. I do want to do that because I think that's appropriate, because we're talking about anxiety and how this has really sparked a lot of communal stress and anxiety because of what happened to him. And then also what's happening with JK, and then also poor little Tay can't just go somewhere in peace, but at the same time, we look at our balance as Army, and the type of love we're giving them, and is it the appropriate kind of love, So, there are things we have to look at. But at our last episode, I was so hoping, because we hadn't gotten it yet, that our angel would be giving us his message, and we got it on May 14th, day before Mother's Day. And then we got the Hobie videos too, with the dance challenge practices. I was so happy, such a happy person. Hey, we've launched our LB7 TikTok. Please follow us. I'm mixing up a little bit of my own personal videos from the last year and a half, if not 2 years, and short clips of things I know that just fuel our mental wellness. And more than anything else, Harmony, remember that we love you, and we appreciate all of you, and we'd like so much to hear from each of you. So if you could just drop a purple heart or a thumbs up here, so we know you're here. What I figured out, by the way, is that I'm not able, for some reason, until after, to see the amount of views we're getting everywhere. And we actually have a ton of views coming in through our Facebook page. We have a lot of views coming in from our Diversity Geek YouTube and our Diversity Geek page. And we actually have views on our Twitch, and we have views on our Twitter, which is amazing. I am extremely excited for the opportunity to be able to keep bringing this type of work to you. And we're alive everywhere right now. Sorry. I know when I'm a one-man shop, it makes it a little bit harder, because I kind of have to check everything all at the same time. But I am here, my friends. Okay, so I was just checking in to see how we're doing, and if we're live everywhere that we're supposed to be, because sometimes that doesn't work. But it looks like it is that we're live. Woohoo! I think our event is live everywhere. Ooh, yay! Join in, everybody. Okay. So I am here. I don't have any comments yet. I'm not really sure. I know we have people here, and people are saying hi, but for some reason still don't see that happens with us so much. It drives me a little bananas. Well, what are we going to do? Not much we could do about it. We have to let technology do its thing. We are kind of at the whim of the technology kind of stuff. Also, I don't have the best signal, so bear with me. Okay, so today we're going to be jumping a little bit straight into some of the conversations we're having about. So I listened back to my old show the other day, and I wanted my last episode, and I wanted to really make sure that I'd done a good job, or that I had done justice to the conversation. And I feel like it was a really good opportunity for us to, where I was able to kind of really discuss the concept of the amygdala and how it works. And we really did some deep dives into understanding trauma and trauma recovery, which I thought I didn't have a chance to go through, but I did. So today we're going to go a little more in depth with a couple of strategies, and to understand a little bit more about the limbic system. So let's start with our opening, and then I will be right back with you.
We are bulletproof.
There we go. Sometimes I don't say the whole thing. I let you guys kind of see it on your own, because you know that our LB7, here at LB7, our entire model is about world building, creating safe and cathartic spaces for Army and anyone who needs to hear these words, for anyone who didn't have anywhere else to turn, a place for rest and respite, and to ask questions. You don't have to be a fan of BTS and their music per se to understand that their words have a very strong impact in terms of healing and catharsis. I know that a lot of times it's solely the work of the musician and the music itself, but with them it's a little bit different. The Bangtan philosophy is a philosophy of being, and ours is Living Bangtan 7 is about living bulletproof 24/7, and us being able to help you find those strategies to be able to cope and be able to step back and to untether yourself from the things that might hold you or bind you to your trauma or your anxiety or your depression. So we're trying with the best intentions possible to be able to help you to find at least one strategy that works for you. And we are a platform that the Diversely Geek team created to bring you wellness discussions, content, and musings based on the healing positive messages of Bangtan Sonyeon. And just know that you are protected by the support and love of Army and BTS. And LB7 here is a powerful reminder that the Bangtan philosophy is something that we can live and really imbibe and maybe, be able to call upon through our day when we're having stress in the same way that we call upon on one of their songs and recall it. It's like kind of with the Beatles, we imagine is a song that helps us to be able to find a sense of unity in diversity and camaraderie and friendship in the same way we can find those messages with the Bangtan musicology and lyrics. Okay, so here we go. Because it's only me, I have to keep talking. I'm so sorry. I want to show you some of the stuff we have behind me. Yay. Yes, when I travel, I have enough stuff with me and I'm able to actually put up stuff in the background. Yes, I'm so happy. Sometimes I can't. Like, I didn't have everything in Korea, so it was a little bit harder to put things up when I was there. But at least with me, I'm here in Oakland, California. I know. Isn't it crazy that that's where I was? And I'm going to be here for the next few months, so you'll be seeing me from here, although I will be moving around because it's the nature of my work. But that's okay. And then in October, if things work out, back to Orlando. And then we should be taking our first tour group. Yes, you heard me right. We will be launching Living Bangtan 7 wellness tours. And they are based on places and experiences that BTS has had in different parts of the world. We are starting out with Korea. And that now I could reveal to you why I went in March. That had a lot to do with me working with a company there, where we're starting to put together the pieces of that puzzle to be able to bring you very unique, very individualized, and very interactive tour experiences where I've worked out with, I won't tell you all the names kind of thing at this moment, but it's coming, with vendors who are BTS related, who you've probably heard about, whether it's in the art, the design, the jewelry, from the vlogs, whether it's from eateries that they've been in. It's pretty much across the spectrum. We have worked out days worth of itinerary and eating experiences, both in Seoul and in Busan. And we have some other places, like we're going to be bringing you over to the beaches, etc. So that's all part of our wellness and strategies that we're bringing to the forefront. So when I get a chance, after everything's settled down, I'll kind of give you guys more info on it, and then you could check in with me and let me know if you're interested. And I will be launching that on the Facebook page, I think, pretty soon, and it will be up on our website, so you should be able to just click in to get info. All right. Yes, Bangtan Wellness Tours. It's going to be a thing, and it's fine. Yay. So happy. Sumi, yay! I was like wondering if the comments were working, because I see people on all the different sites, but I haven't been able to get any of the messages. Izumi, so happy to have you. Happy to have everyone here today. Okay, so we're going to launch a little bit in. So there's two things we're going to talk about, and I'm going to be putting up some little tiles that I prepared for you. So today's show, Haegeum, or lifting the ban on discussing trauma recovery, mental illness, anxiety and depression, and talking about the amygdala, which we did the first time, and then discussing a little piece by piece the experience we had at DDAY and how that was a magical, extremely intense experience for us as Army to be able to uncover and reflect on our own, I would say, mental state, because he really peels it away in terms of how he lays out the entire 2 hours of world building and storytelling. So you and I know that because you've been there, everyone who's been there, that the story is told in a, well, not everyone. I'm sorry, Asia, and I'm sorry, but the story is told in a, I tell people it's told in a backwards order, not technically, right? But he is starting with his awarenesses and his self-revelations from now, and how each of those peels away a piece of his trauma wheel and the emotional trauma that Jungi has been sitting in, which is why we get two extremely, extremely strong stories in Amygdala and in Haegeum. And we talked about it last week, but we didn't say that, we didn't deep dive into Amygdala, which we will do today. But for us to do that, I want us to talk about a strategy called grounding. Everyone go look it up. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. Hey, Mildred, how are you? I'm so happy. Yay. So I want you to look up what the term grounding means in mental wellness and mental health. If you think about it immediately, you think, oh, I'm going to ground my feet, into the foundation that I'm on, so that if we're having an earthquake or a tremor or an avalanche or something that's going to sweep you off your feet like a hurricane, you're going to really plant your feet and you're going to ground yourself. Well, the concept of grounding is kind of like that, except we're mentally grounding ourselves to be able to handle, or I don't like the word handle. You guys know I don't like to use that, but to be able to manage the tether that trauma tends to have, on our psyche, right? And our identity and our ability to function every day. So grounding is probably something you're doing already. Hi, Lena. I think we're all doing it in some level. If you come up, if you want to share a strategy that you're using now, please, please, please tell me. I will tell you a common strategy that all of BTS Army's been using, 60 million strong, is listening to their music. Flor, where are you? Are you in Peru or Spain? I'm so happy to see you. So I literally, the entire Living Bangtan 7 philosophy, yay! So at least we're on a close time zone. The entire philosophy is actually based in the concept and the coping strategy called grounding. And you'll see how that makes sense, right? When we talk to you about living bulletproof 24/7, what we're saying is, what can you do? What can you hold on to in your daily life experience that helps you to ground yourself when trauma or pain, mental anguish really want to blow you over? The thing is not all of us live that type of life, right? Not everyone has a lot of binding mental anguish or traumas or abuses in our life. Okay, I get that. And just to understand, we have one of those in a sense every day. If you just had a car accident and that car accident was so bad that you almost died in it, that's a trauma. Okay, and that's a living experience that your amygdala is going to hold on to and help you to be able to do what's called, remember we talked about avoidance and those different things last time. Well, You use grounding techniques to be able to help you get out of the car and then move on to the next hour and the end of the day and the next day, and then to be able to make that call, to the police or to the insurance. There are things that help us to be able to function emotionally, socially, and physically. Grounding techniques help us with that. So, does that make sense? I'm hoping. For me, and for, I would say, millions of us, for our emotional healing or catharsis wheel, I'm going to write that one for you. Emotional healing catharsis wheel. I talk about it all the time. I would say, for me, and for most of us, having met a lot of you, it is actually the lyrics, the lyricism, but it's also the digital messaging of BTS. Like right now, I'm watching Archita, and I wanted to watch that as I was doing this show because they fully flesh out, Namjoon and Yoongi fully flesh out the conversation about how the trauma of their past has actually been a grounding factor, and how writing their music is something that's helped them to be able to find who they are. And then we get this magic of the two documentaries. It's Hobie's, J-Hope in the Box, and then we get Yoongi's D-Day. Let me just say that we are treated to both of them showing us a year of their healing, a year of them grounding, a year of them finding a way to detach from the tethers and the things that bind you. Write that one down, please. Detaching from the tethers and the things that bind you to your trauma and to your anxiety. So we're going to talk about that today. That is who we are. So how's everybody? And of course, we will continue. We will talk about how Yoongi's documentary is the breathing example of that healing strategy. And we will discuss the science and psychology behind Yoongi's storytelling. The next show, we're going to be talking about the messages we've received from his solo journey, because we like to do that a lot. We did that with Jimin. We did that with Namjoon. We didn't really get to do it with Jin. I think we're going to revisit that because we didn't have the opportunity. We were so new at the time. But let's think about it for all of them so far who've put out something and has had some level of solo. What has their emotional wheel and trauma, their emotional and trauma wheel been like, and how have they shown us ways that they've been able to cope with those traumas? So, and to understand that BTS has been extremely open with us and very, very, very candid about the social emotional, and strains and stressors that they had to deal with early in their time, which at this point all of ARMY should know. So we're going to go really quickly in. Okay, if anyone has questions, this is a really good time to put it up. I'm going to actually show you one of my videos. So hang on. And I'm back. Okay, so Dream, if you've been with me for the last, oh wow, can you imagine? We're 6 months old. It was so interesting. The day that Jin dropped his message was pretty much our 6-month anniversary. Um, if you've been with me, well, actually 5 months. Sorry, I can't count. Um, you know that so far away, and the concept of dream has been something that I have literally um, gone back to. I would say every single show, no matter what, even if I don't plan to, I always go back to talking about these the concept of so far away, and then I always go back to the concept of set me free, which you can.
Set me free, yeah. 내 맘대로 안 될 걸 알면서 Set me free.
So now we know that Set Me Free wasn't just only about the pandemic, which we knew anyway. We knew that it had to do with him talking to himself. And now we know from D-Day that the concept started back in 2015, and the concept of Augusty and him very early on, 6+ years ago, being able to reveal and share with us that he was dealing with how to comprehend and process the different parts of himself. Each of those parts he named. So we had Suga of BTS. Then we were lucky, so lucky to get Augusty, this fiery, unadulterated, angry, openly, prolifically expressive of his angst character. Something he could not be as Suga of BTS, although the thing that I think we all connected to early on was especially with the ciphers, was the fact that they were giving us content that was extremely open and willful. Hey. Hi, Tata! Oh my God, I'm so happy you're here. I think we're on the same time zone too, so that's pretty awesome. Yay, I'm so sorry I missed you at the show. Love it. Thank you so much, Mildred. So coping, but actually recognizing that we need help depending on level of your mental state. Music can heal us, but also keep us going on a very everyday basis at some point, grounding, at some point, and that we have a mental health issue, that we accept and we're able to talk about it. And they do it through their lyrics, and it happens to help us out. Yeah. I don't like to call it issue, but yeah. Okay. Same thing as I don't like to say handle. I get exactly what you mean, because there are words in this world that just can't touch what we're feeling. So we just went back to dream, and we went back to set me free. And those two concepts with August D, if you consider how so far away and set me free became literally the foundation. They are the grounding foundation for the concept of D-Day. They literally are the words, and they are the philosophy. I did so good last time, no crying. They are the message, his internal turmoil, him saying, this is what I'm addressing in D-Day. And he did that slowly over 6.5 years, because he's been writing this for a year and a half. He wrote Polar Night like a year ago, but he wrote Amygdala in the Soup too. So that's been 3 years ago, where Jung recognized that he was dealing or wanted to address the limbic system and how the limbic system works. And he wanted to, because he's such a scientific person, he's saying, I want to know how the heck this works. Bye. See you later, sweetie. I want to know how it works. I want to understand. So if I can understand and peel away that part of understanding where my memories are going, where my trauma is going, where my pain is being housed, where my anguish is, then maybe I can finally stop letting those things stay tethered to me and stay attached to me. So, love you, my darling. That's all for you. So in D-Day, we're watching 2 hours of Jungi untethering himself. And look, at this point, there's no spoilers. It's been 4 weeks of this, so everyone knows that every single time we see a piece of that stage removed, it's a piece of, and it's 9, by the way. I'm telling you, the concept of 9, and that he stands in the 9, and that Jimin stood in the 9. The concept of 9 is so important with the yin yang, which we've again talked about a lot of times. So the concept that he is removing parts of the tether to eventually be at a place where we are equal, where we are together as one. That is a grounding strategy. That is a coping strategy. That wasn't just that, though. That was Jungi physically manifesting in a way what he needed to do to find his emancipation. Because you remember in the documentary, he says, the day that I realized I achieved my D-Day, it was my day of freedom. Yeah, because he had asked and set me free to set me free. Now we know he was talking to his amygdala. Now we know he was talking to his mind. We knew he was talking to the trauma wheel, the things that were holding him and binding him. Now we know that. I mean, it made sense because, to be honest with you, the day I heard set me free, I broke because I knew, I understood that immediately that he was talking to the anguish inside of himself. He wasn't saying, you let me set me free. You can help me set me free. You can help set me free. Jungi was saying, I need you, this person, to set me free. We talked about this last week, my loves. In the long run, when it comes to this, when it comes to the peeling away and the untethering of the things that are binding us, the only person in the long run, the only person who can do that is you. But the only person who has to give you permission to do that is you also. Don't ask it of other people. Sure. Someone who caused you stress and trauma, if you need, I miss you. See you again next time, Tata. Thank you so much for coming on. If to untether or unbind yourself from that forbidden conversation and context, to create your own Haegeum, if you need to go to the people who cause trauma and stress, you don't need to do that with a physical confrontation. You can do that like we talked about last week. Write it down. I think we talk about this every week. Write it down. Before you ever go and, like Augusty, A to the U to the G to A to the G to the U to the SCD, the entire song is him having written down his format for untethering and unbinding. Like, go back, read it. That's why towards the end, we get this song. That's why we get the last as the last song, actually. But we'll talk about that when we do the set list. So number one. The only person you have to answer to, the only one who you need permission from to start unbinding, untethering, and removing those pieces of the things that are binding you is you. Recognition. So we're going to talk about that right now, actually. Let me bring that out to you. So here's the limbic system. I'm going to talk about that real quick. The limbic system functions to facilitate, that's my picture, by the way. It's absolutely one of my favorite pictures I took. You're going to look at my entire camera roll for all of the concerts, and you're going to see so many pictures of Jungi's side profile, so many pictures of his back, so many pictures with his arms up. And it's not that I didn't take pictures of the face. I did. But there was this thing about the expression of his body, this freedom from the back, which a lot of us saw with his little booty bopping videos. I think I have one, so I'm trying to find it. But that little booty bopping thing is not something I would have seen in the past. Not from Min Yoongi, for goodness sakes. Anyway. I'm a digressing. The limbic system functions to facilitate memory storage and retrieval. We talked about that. To establish emotional states. So now we're not just in the amygdala, we're in the larger limbic system. This is literally the you, the part of the you that processes your emotions, your experiences, how you attach to them, how you feel about them, what they mean to you, and how they're purposeful or meaningful in your life, right? So it's storage and retrieval, because from this system, we're not just storing it, we're now able to pull it out. We're able to use it when we need to again. Those are how we create coping strategies. And like I said, grounding, establish emotional states. Okay, now I know who I am. Like I had said in the last show, there was many, many, many years I would have cried extremely easily when I talked about my brother or why we had created the organization, and I can manage that type of emotion better now. Not that crying is wrong. Understand, crying is a fantastic thing as long as it's something that it's not because someone's hurting you. And to link the conscious, and this is what Jungi is doing, what he's done for 6 years. This is D-Day, linking the conscious intellectual function of the cerebral cortex with the unconscious automatic function of the brainstem. So basically, he is saying with D-Day and with Haegeum that I'm lifting the ban on the forbidden, to explore the things that drove me to mental anguish and to suicide attempts. I'm exploring the things that created those emotional states that are now linked to my conscious awareness, intellectual function that used to hold me and bind me to the depression and the anxiety state. And now I'm saying, I am learning that I have to set myself free from that. I am allowed to dream of a day and a time where I am not tethered to it and bound to it all of the time. And instead, my unconscious state, my autonomic functions can be about happiness. They can be about booty bopping if that's what I need to do at my concert. They can be about cussing if that's what you need to do at your concert. Not too much. He did it beautifully. They can be about singing a song to us that peels away literally the layers of anguish to show us his pain, because he has intellectually come to a place where he's okay with doing that, and he now wants to share that with us. So the unconscious state is the one that autonomically performs, feels, believes, and acts. So you want that state to be one that's not unfair. You want that state to be one that's not sitting worried or traumatized. You want that state to be happy. You want to be able to sit at that concert and with abandon scream to burn it, like I did twice now. Because that's what gave me the happiness I needed to have. Now we're going to talk about trauma. This is a big one. So trauma in this state is a very big concept. Sometimes when we are experiencing and responding to extreme fear or danger, or our memories are not processed and stored in the usual way. When we experience a traumatic event, or our brain often stores the memory based on what we are feeling and sensing at the time. So case in point, Jungi's automobile accident when he was on the bike stayed, as we now know, as a stored memory that stayed in a wheel. It stayed tethered and bound to him. He couldn't release it because we see that, and it bound his mind to that fear. When our brains then recognize similarities between our present situation and our past trauma, a color, a smell, or a noise, those are called triggers. We've talked about those. It can activate the fight or flight, freeze, flop, or friend response, even if we're not currently in danger. So have you ever wondered about how someone gets really, really, really anxious and in a very quiet and calm situation? It's because that particular brain, that recognition and recall of that memory then brings us back to that initial state of trauma, and then the body autonomically responds to that because we're still tethered to it. We haven't released it. We're not in this present moment where that still stays. It's a stored memory, but we've learned from it. Instead, now we're continuing in the cycle of the binding to that trauma. So we recall it and we go back to fear, we go back to worry, we go back to anxiety. That is how that works. Does that make sense to everybody? Hopefully, yes. Yes. We call this being triggered, and it can be a common experience for people who've been through trauma, which is why I did a trigger warning post and talked about it before the show, because I wanted people to understand that his entire show has a ton of triggers in there. Thank you, Mildred. I'm glad it makes sense. So now we're going to go on to the next one. So, keep that in mind. If you guys want, I'll load these onto my as a little MP4 onto our YouTube, etc. So you have the opportunity to look at those. So, because I think it might be helpful to be able to look at them after the show. This can cause anxiety, panic attacks, nightmares, and flashbacks. How many people who are tethered or bound to their trauma, the trauma memory, stays present and fresh and active in the subconscious. Therefore, your autonomic response acts as if it's still there. How many people understand the concept? But this is what trauma does to you, and why not that this is where all anxieties and panic comes from, and any of the rest of this. But these are usually the things that are attached to a traumatic experience, a traumatic, abusive, painful experience. So we have anxiety, panic attack, nightmares, and flashbacks. Those are the physical manifestations of the trauma response and the memory coming back as feeling like it's still present. It's not that the memory is truly present, but we feel like it's still present. So our body autonomically responds to it, and we have anxiety and panic. It's crazy, hyperventilation, all of the things that come with it. This is how the mind, how the limbic system works. So being able to get past that, it's a pretty rough one. Then we talk about grounding. So we wanted to talk about grounding is where you can try using grounding techniques where you feel strong emotions. So in those moments, what are some of the techniques that we can use to help you feel calmer and more in control? Does anyone have any strategies that they've been using? I talked about it last week. I use my dual set breathing. I even use it at work. I use it all the time, to be honest with you. I even use it in the concert. I had some really rough days. I live with chronic pain, as most of you know, and it isn't always easy. So I'm like, I got to get through this. I was front row, 127, looking straight in Jungi's face. Mr. Guy, 12 feet in front of me, looking in his face. So I'm like, I'm not letting my pain or anything else keep me from being able to experience that. So how do I work with the trauma that my body experiences from chronic pain? See, I told you there are other ways that we experience trauma. When you've had medical problems, when you're living with a chronic illness, all of those things are tethers and they bind you. Chronic migraines, chronic abdominal pain, fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, autoimmune disorders. They're all really, 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 really rough on the body. And we are trying to find processes and strategies to help us to be able to manage what we're feeling and experiencing physically as a result of it. When you live with chronic illness, worry and fear is something that just sits there. So, be kind to people who have chronic illness. Understand that they may look like nothing's wrong, but in no way, shape, or form is that the truth. So be kind to them, okay? Trauma number 4. Grounding. The D-Day documentary shows us examples of Jungi's strategies for grounding. So we talked about that a little bit before. Excuse me. And if any of you found one moment in the documentary that helped you or was a very obvious grounding technique, I don't want to give them to you, but they're pretty much in your face the whole time, because the entire show is a grounding technique where Jungi's finding a way to balance himself so that he can get and move ahead to write these songs. See, when we talk about the set list, I'm going to talk about why it was so difficult for him to write as a writer myself. So in People Part 2, Jungi is talking to the Jungi he is today and acknowledging that he does not need to hold on to his past pain to move forward. That's recognition. Comment. Sometimes writing on your phone oops. Okay, so let me move the banner for a minute. Let me take that away. Let me come back. Let me go back to the comment. And then here's Atara. Sometimes writing on your phone of what's going on. I write in my journal on the phone and go back later to see how I felt, how to better myself in a way. Yeah. I think I mean, you guys know that writing is one of my number one strategies. I've come to realize Jungi used it a lot, Namjoon used it a lot. Not all of them journaled, but slowly over time, I saw that they all started to adopt that model. I actually have all of my patients, whether they're my mental health, neuropsych, or just family practice neurology patients, I actually ask them to do diaries, because when you're worrying that what you're feeling isn't real, right? That it's just you're making it up in your head because chronic illness, chronic pain, chronic anxiety, and panic, those are real things. So writing them down shows you the actuality of them. And they allow you to pull them out of this nowhere land where trauma type likes to sit and make it a real thing. We're at 46 minutes already. Gosh, I'm telling you, these shows are so hard to keep under an hour. So hard. So that's a perfect strategy. Thank you so much. Can anyone, please, give me at least one example of a coping strategy, a grounding strategy that Jungi used during the documentary? Okay, so I'm going to give you a clue. The entire documentary is a grounding strategy. Does that help you? Okay, I'm just going to say that. But now give me the rest of it. What else? So we were on number 5. So we talked about recognition, and then number 6. Recognition. This is the one I want you to know. Recognize the things that are out of your control. Recognize that asking yourself what is binding you is a huge step in forward movement. You guys got that? Recognizing the things that are out of your control. Do that. I didn't ask you to fix them. That's the number one thing I have to tell people. I don't need you to fix them. I just would like for you to recognize the things that are out of your control. Because once you've done that and you've put that on paper, it's easier for you to say when they come up again, but I can't control that thing. Jungi actually talks about that. Let's see. I think I did a video on that. See if I could find it, and I'll put it up here for you, or I'll probably post it. In the teaser, there was a series of frames where he talked about getting to the place of acceptance. And that acceptance is recognition, where he recognized and accepted that today is today. I need to live in today. I can't let the past and the past trauma of my life be the thing that controls me, because if I do, then I can't move forward. He didn't say he's going to fix it. What he says is he's going to recognize it. Important. And recognize that asking yourself what is binding you is a huge step in forward movement, my friends. I hope you all wrote that down. Write it down. Make sure you wrote it down. I love it. Yes, so a grounding technique and a strategy was that he talked about it 100%. 100%. He journaled, and then he openly spoke about it. Who did he speak about it with during the documentary? Jungi did something he's never done in his life. He went on a trip for fun. I mean, obviously it was a documentary. Totally get it. But he did things on that trip that were fun. He said, I'm doing things on this trip that I've never done in my life. I've never allowed myself to see my work being the thing that was the most important, because I felt my work was the most important, the thing that I was responsible and duty bound to. And everyone would say to him, if you remember that the butter reveal, the butter video where Jin is doing Jungi, and Jungi's like, wait, am I really like that? And everybody's like, yes, you're really like this. You are so bound to your work. Like it's a high level of duty and responsibility. It's not that his work isn't that to him, but it became the thing that he was so bound to that you get weary of it. You get tired. And that's the same thing that happened to Namjoon. Namjoon talks about that when he does Wildflower. Jimin talks about the being bound not to his work, but to the things, the expectations of his work. And then, we get not like crazy. It's in the other one, Set Me Free Part 2, because he recognized that Yoongi Set Me Free was something that had to have like the conversation needed to continue. But okay, because we're almost done. I'm going to tell you the strategies he used. A grounding strategy that Yoongi used. He went to visit his friends. Like the Yoongi that we'd had in the past would have acknowledged that I have friendships or I have people in my life. This Yoongi acknowledged that he has personally close friendships. So that was part of the 5 F's that we talk about. I didn't talk about it. It's freeze, it's froze, freeze, blah, blah, blah. Friend, but friend is number 5. So friend is number 5 on the 5 F's. We didn't talk about it today, but I'll probably post on it. And I'll probably do it with my whiteboard. Friends. Why is Army so prolific? Because we're friends. We're not friends from everywhere. Not everybody, all 50 million are friends. But I'm friends with most of the people here right now. I'm not just acquaintances. I have good friendships with these people where I'm willingly able to express who I am. Just spoke with Atara about it the other day, right, Atara? We had this conversation about expressing who you are freely with someone that is a trust factor. And Yoongi needed to find that trust. He has it with his 6 brothers, 100%. But I often think that just like Jin, that he felt worried that he'd be burdening them. And the reason why he and Jin are so close is because they were able to express to each other in pure, absolute, unadulterated friendship these pains that they were dealing with, these struggles that they were dealing with, these things that were hurting them. I have to show you my RGs. I sleep with those. Grounding technique right there. But when we went to In the Soup 1 and they sat and had that conversation, and then we have KBS and Let's Talk BTS, and we're hearing Yoongi say how close they are and how important those conversations are. I want you to know that that's a grounding technique. It's a grounding strategy. Do you have your person? Do you have 5 persons? I'm blessed, man. I have quite a few people now who I can now openly express my angst to, and they get me. Exactly, Mildred. You got it. It's a trust factor indeed. I was able to open up to my circle of arms about this. Exactly. And like you're opening with me, we chat, it doesn't have to be Army. It can certainly be anyone who's in your circle. But friendship is an extremely important part. But I will tell you something. Never give in to a friendship that is not a friendship. If it's one where you're giving and you're hurting yourself physically to give, that's not friendship. You need to understand that. That is being emotionally abused. I know we don't look at it that way. But understand, if an entire relationship is about what you're giving and not what you're receiving, or a 2-way conversation like we're having now, like all of you are my chinguas, all of you who we're having this conversation with, I do this as a conversation. I'm not here teaching. I'm having a conversation with you. That's why I always want to have your interaction, because I want to know that what I'm saying makes sense to you, and that as I express something, that it's helpful to you. That's friendship. That's true friendship. And, find that person in your life. If you're not able to, reach out to me. I'm right here. So the last thing then was about that trust circle and building the trust circle. Yoongi did that. My God, man. He went to Steve Aoki. He went to Anderson Paak. He went to Chris. We didn't get to see Chris on there from Coldplay. I'm really sad about that because I'm sure it has something to do with something going on in the future. Fingers crossed, something in the future. Coldplay, BTS, manifest. Okay. So that being said, dude, Yoongi getting his hair done by Halsey was life-sustaining. I will always have the memory of him having his little girls done by Halsey. And the fact that that giggle was unreal. That giggle was everything. When he looked at himself in the mirror, I was like, Yoongi, grounding techniques. Allow yourself to be silly, my loves. It's okay. Silliness is okay. I didn't know that for the longest time, but now if you're with me and you're hanging and chilling with me, you know that I'm willing to do that. You know that I'm willing to do that in order for the people around me to also feel comfortable. I want to laugh. I want laughter in my existence because it helps to untether the things that are binding me. So, recognition, we talked about it. Grounding techniques has been the entire episode today, where we're talking about strategies that you can use. Friendships that are healthy and healing and cathartic. We talked about songs, digital content like me watching Archita today, and quite a few of Namjoon's talks and Yoongi's and Hobi's. And Jin, well, Jin is always my catharsis. I've always been. My Tusiak will always be my catharsis. Gosh, I'm seeing that my signal is not the best. I'm so sorry. I'm hoping everyone's able to get me. If not, I'll download it and so that everybody can get a better thing later on and be able to watch the whole show. But regardless, so we talked about grounding, grounding, grounding. So today, try and find the best grounding techniques for yourself. We talked about a journal. We talked about friends, friend circle. We talked about laughter. We talked about music. Aw, thank you. Thank you so much, Joyce. I'm so happy that it was able to help you. Yay. It helps me too. And grounding strategy that makes sense for you, whatever it is. Sometimes it's just surrounding myself a whole bunch of BTS things. You know, I you don't know this, but most of the times I sleep with the blanket of the boys from the HYYH shoot, because the message on there is the beginning of a period in time where I was going through some of the worst struggles in my life, going through a divorce, dealing with my brother's passing, and figuring out who I was as I changed in my career path and my life. And we got wings, and we got HYYH and wings. And I know that just having the blanket on me helps to ground me when I'm not sure in that moment. Or even just holding on to RJ helps to ground me. But all of you know that my jewelry is why I do what I do, because jewelry is my grounding. All right, my loves. So I hope that this was helpful. We are at the end. Just remember that the D-Day album jacket and book is a genius introspective monologue where Yoongi is sharing key phrases that he connects to form the steps in his own wellness and healing journey. It's extremely important to understand this, that the entire jacket, if you have not had an opportunity to go back and look at that jacket, please go back and look at the key phrases that Yoongi has in that book and find some of those, because we're going to be talking about that directly on part 3 of Haegeum. Also, we want to remember that Yoongi's transparent sharing of his mental and emotional challenges and crises is also what we're going to talk about a little more revealing next time. It's something I call the image of dislocated and confused self. Big concept, huge concept, but not something that we were ready to talk about until we talked about Haegeum, until we talked about grounding and recognition and untethering, which we have done at this point. So much love to all of you. Also to let you know that in the next few weeks, we will be, so in the US from June 11th to the 12th until Festa in KST time, we're going to be hosting a 48 hours worth of a Festa event, which is going to toggle across the globe, where we'll be doing some live things with Army across the globe. The 11th and 12th, Ichi. Aww, thank you, Mildred. Love you too. Wait, I never do this right? One day. So tune in because on the 11th and 12th, each day we're going to have something called a scavenger hunt. Each scavenger hunt is very specific to the 10-year history. Our event is called Still With You, 10 Years of Wellness with Bangtan. And I am so excited that the team is helping me, that we're putting this together. It's Still With You, 10 Years of Wellness with Bangtan. And each of the scavenger hunts is based on that team. We'll be putting that out to you probably by the end of the month to get it ready so you know what to prepare for. And it's going to be one per day because it's a global scavenger hunt. There's grand prizes. There's smaller prizes. They're also going to be a name that tune type of thing, and we're going to have a quiz, and those are going to be rapid round quizzes also with prizes. One is going to be one day, one is going to be the other day, so tune into whichever one you want to. Just understand, because it's global, the timing may be a little cuckoo, but tune in whenever you can. We're probably going to also do some, we have our own YouTube playlist, we have our Spotify playlist, and we have our own station head. So we're going to be doing a station head for each of the 2 days. We're going to come on live, and what we're going to ask you ahead of that time is to send in all of the songs that you'd like on that playlist that we're going to do on our station head. I think we're going to do like a 2-hour session each of the days. We're going to figure that out. So the songs are going to be based on what you tell me, and they need to cover our 10 years. 10 years. Yay. I think we're going to probably choose about 70 songs, and then we're going to figure it out from there. So find us on Twitter, find us on YouTube, find us on TikTok. Our TikTok's really a lot of fun. Facebook, most of you are there. Find us on our blogspot, which is going live soon. And Joyce, just so you know, we're actually having this pin made into 2 new versions of it. I am so excited because I can't wait for you guys to see them because they're going to be specific to us. And we have another designer also making an LB7 pin for us and a decal. We also will be launching our fundraiser. Each of those things is a fundraiser for us as a company because we are a nonprofit, and our DDAY events, we hosted almost 300 people. I know it's really hard to realize that we did. 127 going on 157 tickets, and we hosted 4 armies who had been nominated who could not afford the tickets to some of the travel and some of the events. So we hosted them through the 5 city events that we did, and we arranged a ton of accommodations, travel, and our excursions were mind-blowing. We'll talk about that pretty soon coming up. We'll go through that whole experience. And we just did so well that we also need everyone to understand, as a nonprofit, we need your love. So the pins will be going up, I think, at $5 and $6, the new ones. And the shirts will be going up on our Bonfire site, bonfire.com. They host t-shirts and like these kind of shirts and other things, sales. And so every sale on that, a percentage of that comes back to us. And then we'll have a direct order coming up pretty soon for our LB7 shirt. Yay. Just keep an eye out for all that stuff. But the number one thing is we'll be launching most of it during the 2 days of Festa, specific items to our theme, Still With You, 10 years of wellness with Bangtan. All right, my loves. Love everybody. Apo Bangpo, Borhe. Love you. Have a great week. Cannot wait. I will be back with you next week about the same time. I don't know if Angela will be with me, but Angela, I think, will be with me from the following week because she'll be on California time. So our Festa is going to be crazy. I am so excited. We do need volunteers. If anybody wants to help, reach out to me and reach out to the team. Let us know. Oh, join the Discord too. Yeah, if you're not in there, join the Discord. Let us know. We'll probably post all of that soon. All right, my loves, I gotta go. Oh my God, I'm just over 1 hour and 4 minutes. Yeah, I went past our time. Okay, everyone. Borhe, Borhe, Borhe. Ugh, I swear, one day I promise you I'll get this hard correct. I don't know how. Love everybody. Oh, and Yungi. Happy Yungi to you. Happy Yungi. Happy Yungi. Look at my sweet boy. I'm just going to end with pictures of Yungi from the photo book. Yeah. I wanted so badly to put some of my pictures up so you'd see them. I don't think I even had time to do that. Here's my favorite. Here's my other. Okay. I was like, I had to show you a few of my pictures. All right, guys, love you.